the 31-year-old father of two who was mercilessly assassinated yesterday at a university campus for having expressed contrary views. Universities are supposed to be places of debate where differing opinions can be offered and exchanged in peace and security. We must all unite, regardless of our political views, around a simple principle. Political violence is never acceptable. Every person should be free to express their opinion without fear of violence. And speaking about fear of violence, this house here behind me, the owner has spent $100,000 on extra security, bulletproof windows, camera systems, alarms, electric fencing in certain parts of the home. I won't get too specific because I don't want the bad guys to know exactly where and what he's got. But can you imagine spending $100,000? Do you know before the Liberal government, you could buy a house in some parts of Canada for under $100,000? Now that's what it costs to secure your house. Crime is raging out of control. And you heard the stories of the courageous victims behind me today, telling their stories. You know, I find it incredible that Sean Fraser, Minister of Injustice, the man who ruined our entire immigration system before Mr. Carty then promoted him to be responsible for the crime crisis. He said the other day, this is not the Wild West. Really? Has he talked to these victims? A woman who's had to leave the country of her birth to live in another nation because she's afraid of her ex tracking her down? Has he talked to the family of Aleem Farouki, the courageous father who rose in the middle of the night to defend his kids and lost his life in front of those children? The three cowardly scumbags who carried out that attack. I bet you anything they have already been arrested in the past. You know, I had one family member of a crime victim the other day say, Sean Fraser is right. It's not a Wild West. It's a war zone in some of these communities. People in these neighborhoods are terrified. They are genuinely afraid of the crime that is raging in our streets. And these are not just stories. This is not sensationalism. This is data and facts. Here's what the facts say if you believe Statistics Canada. Under the Liberals' catch and release system, extortions are up 330%. Sexual assaults up 76%. Violent crime up 55%. Homicides up 29%. A majority of Canadians told a pollster that they worry a lot or worry sometimes about their own personal safety. A majority of Canadians are now afraid to live in Canada after a decade of these Liberal laws. In Toronto, residential robberies are up 50%. And we see more than 900 armed robberies in the last 2 years. The rate of armed robberies is actually doubling. And the stories are piling up. They are horrendous. We've got the story of James Plover. He was released while awaiting sentencing. 3 hours after his release, he brutally murdered Bailey McCourt, his ex-wife, in a parking lot just 4 kilometers from the courthouse. Daniel Senecal. He had already been convicted of sexually assaulting a 12-year-old boy, and the Liberal justice system released him so that now he's charged with raping a 3-year-old child. This is sick. As a father, I am sickened by these stories and the unnecessary nature of them. All of these crimes were avoidable if the criminals had been kept where they belong, in jail, and not released. And then, of course, we heard from Naeem, his brother Aleem, who is a hero, frankly, a true hero. He did the greatest act of courage that any man could do, defend his family, and he lost his life for it. Again, almost certainly at a totally avoidable tragedy. How did this happen? You know, some people say we need bail reform. No, we have bail reform. That's the problem. We have Liberal bail reform. It's called C-75. And let's stop blaming the judges. The law is very clear. The Liberals wrote into the law that a judge must release the accused, and I quote, at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. At the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. That is the Liberal bail reform. And that is why in the city of Vancouver, they have had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That means each offender was arrested 150 times in 1 year. And then they get released and they reoffend. Released, reoffend. We've been telling the Liberals that their law is leading to terror in our communities. We've been telling them that for years. And what did Mark Carney do when he became Prime Minister? He shut down Parliament to go on summer vacation, a lot of useless globetrotting, and he has not changed the law. Imagine if instead of going on summer vacation, he had repealed the Liberal bail reforms last spring. How many assaults, murders, robberies would have happened? Mark Carney, it is time for you to do the right thing and reverse Liberal bail laws that are unleashing terror in our communities. And if you won't do it, we will. That's why Conservatives are here today, to announce ARPN Canada's bill, the Jail Not Bail Act, to strengthen public safety and rebalance our justice system to put law-abiding citizens first. It will replace the Liberal principle of restraint. In other words, judges will no longer be required to release the accused at the earliest opportunity under the least onerous conditions. It will introduce a new major offenses category that requires anyone accused of sexual assault, firearms offenses, kidnapping, human trafficking, home invasion, robbery, extortion, arson, and other serious charges. They will then have the onus on them to prove that it is safe to release them on bail. We will strengthen bail laws by mandating judges also consider the accused full criminal history and prevent anyone with prior major convictions from getting bail. There will be a tough risk assessment system to look into whether or not an offender is likely to offend while out on bail. We will prohibit anyone with an indictable offense from acting as a guarantor for another accused person. This is on top of other conservative laws that we will bring in, like repealing C-75, repealing C-5, the house arrest law, bringing in a 3 strikes you're out law, meaning that anyone who's convicted of 3 prior offenses will automatically be denied bail, parole, probation, or house arrest. We will ban the Bishnoi gang. We will lock up extortionists. We will bring in mandatory jail time for intimate partner violence and other serious offenses. We want to lock up these criminals and throw away the key to keep our communities safe, to reverse the damage the Liberals have done. And we do this not out of hatred for the criminal, but out of love for the victims. We want this to be a safe country again. Everything we as Conservatives do is for one purpose, to restore the promise of Canada, that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a nice, affordable home with meat and potatoes on the dinner table every single night, in a safe neighborhood where you go to bed knowing that when your head hits the pillow, you're safe and sound in your beautiful refuge, and where a beautiful Canadian flag hangs from the front porch. That's the promise of Canada. That's the hope of our future. So let's bring together this massive coalition from across the country of police chiefs, of victims, of members of parliament, of victims advocates who are coming together now and demanding security, demanding that Canada be a safe and secure place, demanding that we put victims first. And that's what Conservatives will do when the parliamentary session returns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now on to questions from the floor.
Good morning, Carly Thomas with CBC News. What do you make of some of the first major projects announced by the government, and what do they tell you about the government's priorities? Do you think these government funds should be used to support any of these future projects?
What we have today is Mark Carney, after 6 months, has not approved a single national project anywhere in Canada. It's really incredible. He was elected saying that we are in an unprecedented crisis and that we needed to move with unimaginable speed. So what has he done? He's not permitted a single major mine pipeline, nuclear plant, or anything else. What he's done today is announce that he's going to send an email to an office that isn't even fully staffed up yet, which will one day consider possibly approving 5 projects. This is pathetic. Do you know the federal government is blocking 39 projects that are in the regulatory system? 39. Scott Moe says there's another 100 projects in Saskatchewan alone that are waiting on federal decisions. The message to Mark Carney and the Liberals is they need to do one thing. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. All these projects need to go ahead is the removal of liberal anti-development laws and taxes that make them impossible to build. We don't need a new bureaucracy in Ottawa or a new dream list. We need the federal government to get out of the way, and I'm here to help them do it. I'm putting forward the Canadian Sovereignty Act, which will get the government out of the way, open the country for business, unlock our resources, repeal the industrial carbon tax, the energy cap, the shipping ban, C-69, the pipeline ban, repeal all of those liberal laws so that we can become a country that is strong, self-reliant, and stands on its own 2 feet. And I would just conclude by looking at the results of Mr. Carney, not his promises, not his latest paper shuffling exercise. $62 billion of net investment has left Canada since he became Prime Minister. That is the worst 5-month record of investment in Canadian history. Mark Carney has lost 86,000 jobs, and there is nothing to show for his 6 months. It's time for him to get out of the way, let builders build, let workers work, and let us become a strong, self-reliant, and sovereign country. Thank you.
Et en français.
Merci beaucoup. Aujourd'hui, M. Carney est au pouvoir depuis 6 mois et il n'a pas approuvé un seul projet de l'intérêt national. 6 mois. Rien ne s'est produit encore. On sait qu'il y a 39 projets bloqués par la bureaucratie fédérale. C'est des projets où les applications sont déjà là avec le fédéral en attendant une décision, souvent depuis des années. Monsieur Moe de la Saskatchewan dit qu'il y a 100 projets additionnels qui attendent l'approbation fédérale. Ils n'ont pas besoin, les projets-là n'ont pas besoin d'être sur une liste, ils ont besoin le feu vert. Donc, Monsieur Carney et le gouvernement libéral bloquent des projets à travers le Canada. C'est pour ça que 62 milliards de dollars nets a quitté le pays en investissement depuis son arrivée au pouvoir, le pire 5 mois dans l'histoire de notre pays. Il a perdu 86 000 emplois et l'économie canadienne est le pire parmi le G7. Il a promis la plus grande croissance économique dans le G7. Il a livré la réduction dans le PIB le plus important dans le G7. Il faut enlever les libéraux du chemin pour rapidement approuver les projets. C'est pour ça que les conservateurs vont proposer la loi sur la souveraineté qui va débloquer les projets, enlever les lois libérales et les taxes libérales qui bloquent notre secteur énergétique et de ressources naturelles pour massivement élargir notre économie et ramener chez nous la production de nos ressources. C'est ça l'approche que nous allons proposer en automne. And I just want to say in English, Mark Carney promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. He's delivered the fastest shrinking economy in the G7. So we've had enough talk from Mark Carney. It's time to see some action.
Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
Hi. Thanks, Mr. Poilievre, for taking our question. My question for you is that, will your proposed legislation include the use of notwithstanding clause?
This proposal will not, because it does not require it. In fact, I should say that Mr. Canna's private member's bill is not only allowed under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, it is required by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Every Canadian is guaranteed by Section 7 of the Charter the right to life, liberty, and security of the person. Right now, as you hear these stories, the charter rights of Canadians are being violated by liberal laws that take lives. We look at Aleem Faruqi. His charter rights were violated. His kids' charter rights were violated when 3 murderers came into their house in the middle of the night and took his life. So my question is, every time we have these people come up and say, well, what about the rights of the criminals? I say, what about the rights of the victims? When are we going to start to focus on the charter rights of victims? You have a right under the charter not to be murdered or violated or have your home invaded. And we as conservatives, we are the only party that stands up for the charter rights of victims, while the Liberals stand up for the rights of criminals.
Thank you. This is Abhijit from Y Media, and just want to ask that you propose jail, not bail, for repeat offenders.
Yes.
But what there's going to be the oversight for unjust detentions as well?
Thank you very much. It's a fair question because everyone has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. That is true. But the people we're talking about keeping in jail are those who have already had prior convictions under the law. So when somebody has been convicted for 150 prior offenses and they're newly arrested, I think it's safe to say they should stay behind bars until their trial is done and or their sentence is complete. They're not innocent. They've had 150 prior convictions. We know they are career criminals. And with 3 strikes, you're out, I think it's a great principle because it says no bail for someone who's 3 prior serious convictions. We already know that it's a guilty criminal that's been newly arrested, and therefore we are justified in keeping that person behind bars until the trial and or the sentence are complete. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Parley. Ryan from Northern Perspective. One of the things that kind of shocks me is the lack of attention that the state-funded media has put on this issue since it became blatantly apparent as a result of the statistics. And you weren't even asked about that today, considering this is the focus of the press conference. Mm-hmm. And one thing that the media has not covered is the fact that in Hamilton, Hamiltonians have resorted to Facebook groups, posting screenshots, posting video of people actually coming into their property to warn other people, because that's the resort that they've had to rely on. And as a result, with their safety, you're right, people are afraid in their homes. So the question is, and on behalf of all of the victims and all of the scared Canadians, have you built a coalition with the other opposition parties to ensure that this bill will pass?
Thank you very much. And I think it's so important we have independent voices like you so that these stories that people are living in their real world are actually told. Because I agree that the Liberals don't want any discussion about the crime and chaos that they've unleashed on our streets, and they do everything in their power to change the channel, to make excuses, and to brush it off. But the reality is that Liberals created this chaos, and only Conservatives will end it. As for a coalition, look, I'll be very blunt with you. All of the other parties in the House of Commons support the catch and release, soft on crime, criminal justice system the Liberals brought in. They voted for it. There's only one thing that's going to make them change, and that is pressure from voters. So I would say, if you're out there, if you're afraid, if you're angry with the terror and the crime that Liberals have unleashed, you need to call your local MP and say, if you don't vote for jail, not bail, I won't vote for you. So I will be watching, and if you, Mr. or Mrs. MP, continue to vote for Liberal laws that turn criminals loose in our communities, then you will be defeated at election time. That is the only thing that will get Liberals, New Democrats, and Bloc Québécois members to do the right thing.
Thank you. Last question.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking my question. Dharanjit from Red FM. You have a strong stance on crime and immigration policies. So do you believe that the federal immigration pattern has a link with the rising crimes rates? And you also talked about to ban the Lawrence Bishnoi group and to declare them as a terrorist organization in Canada. So are you going to take this matter in the House of Commons?
So I'll answer your second question first. Yes, we will take the Bishnoi issue to the House of Commons. The Bishnoi gang is carrying out extortions and other violence in communities like Brampton, Surrey, Northeast Calgary. They need to be treated like a terrorist organization so that communities can feel safe again. The question of immigration, immigrants are not to blame. The Liberal government is to blame. Liberals are the ones that broke our immigration system. In fact, it's incredible. Sean Fraser is now the Minister of Justice. He was the person that destroyed the immigration system under Justin Trudeau, and he's got a promotion under Mark Carney. So if you ever thought things were going to be different or better, you only need two words: Sean Fraser. Yeah. He's literally, I think this guy is a human wrecking ball. He ruined the best immigration system in the world. Then he ruined the housing market. And now Carney's put him in charge of crime. Like, it's unbelievable. And I would say to everybody, don't blame immigrant people. My wife is an immigrant. The people did not cause this problem. It is the Liberal government. The Liberal government had an open borders policy that brought in too many people too quickly. They've admitted it now. They've now admitted that it hurt the housing market, the job market, and our social services. They admit that. So they can't turn around and name call other people who say the same thing that they're now saying. The Liberals should do all the Mr. Fraser and what's the other guy? Mark Miller. They should give a tearful apology. That's the only thing they have left to do on the immigration file, is to come out and give a tearful apology. Apologize to immigrants who've been taken advantage of by shady consultants and by unscrupulous multinational corporations that are using and abusing temporary foreign workers. Apologize to all Canadians for the damage Liberals have done to housing, to the job market, and to our social services with their reckless policy. The Liberals and the Liberals alone are to blame for the broken immigration system.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference.
Thank you very much.